You knew you were dyslexic at what age?
Let's say 9. Yeah, we found out at 9. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest things that you had to do that you remember you having to do being dyslexic? Because for me, I was I didn't know I was till I was 16.
Yeah.
And I was always trying to do anything and everything just to get by. So like coming in and before class with the teacher, staying during my lunch period, skipping gym to study, staying after school to study. Anything I could do to make sure the teacher understood what I was doing was trying. And it wasn't like, you know how we all had those kids in class that sat in the back and they're like, oh man, screw this. Like,
yeah, I feel you, definitely. I was always trying really, really hard. Yeah, reading was just a little bit harder for me. Reading, at first it was hard, but I went to a great private school called Windward. It really, really helped me out. I wish every kid that has dyslexia had the opportunity to go there. It's really unfair, but
they had they were able to focus on you guys more.
They were, yeah,
because public school they want to push everybody on and push everybody through as one big group and not focus on those who really need it.
Yeah,
and help those who need it most. Really, so it's cool that you were able to. What was that like? What was that experience like?
So there were smaller class sizes. There were more teachers. They would go to slower pace. It was amazing. Very helpful.
Yeah. So it was probably easier.
Definitely easier. Yeah.
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 So how many kids were in one class about?
I wouldn't say not more than 10.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So like in public schools, one class is probably 25 or plus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe like 20. Yeah,
20, 25.
Yeah, definitely around that. Yeah.
And a packed class is 25. And every seat's full, shoulder to shoulder. The teacher's like, I got one thing. But for me, like the struggles was like, you know, when the teacher, I don't know if you ever experienced this, the teacher would write on the whiteboard, he'd speak, and you had to write the notes, understand what he's saying, learn, and then refer the notes when you got home.
Oh, so at Windward, they would give us printed out notes if we needed them. Yeah, they had that.
See, and, we had to get an IEP.
Yeah.
For that to be approved, and then the teacher always gives a hard time about it. It's extra work.
All the kids at Windward, they already all had their IEPs, so you didn't really have to.
Yeah, that's sweet.
That part. Yeah.
So, but for us, for the listeners, you can probably relate to this. If the teacher's talking to me about a subject, I'm listening. I'm trying to absorb everything that he's saying. But I'm writing it down, so now I'm getting worried about writing this down because the way they did it is they graded your notes the next day as homework.
Yeah, that's very stressful.
If I'm like, okay, well, they're grading my notes, so I can't listen to them now. Yeah. So I'm writing everything down so fast. You know, teacher's flying down the board. I'm not. So I'm now worried about not being caught up with the teacher's notes. Then now I'm just basically scribbling on my book. And now after they grade it, not only do I have no idea what he said, I have no idea what's going on in class or history. I can't read my notes, so I failed the notes. I don't know what happened. I don't know what he said, and I can't read them or study with them.
That's terrible.
So that was social studies, that was science, that was everything. But when I read on a textbook, I don't know if you relate to this, a bunch of little words, stare at it long enough, and like sentences start flying around, and you get a little dizzy.
I mean, sometimes I wouldn't be able to process it. Like, it was just too much for me to handle at once.
Yeah,
it would not. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Have you ever written a book? Have you ever read a book and not read a book or a chapter and had no idea what happened in the chapter?
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Still, even if it's just something that like I really cannot like get into, like if it's just something I don't really care about or like it's just boring, it's very hard for me to follow along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what would you tell those who are struggling with dyslexia in the public school? What is your advice to them other than just keep going?
Take a second. Think about that. Never be afraid to ask for help. Just always ask for help.
Yeah, a lot of kids are usually afraid to ask for help.
Some kids are afraid to ask for help, Always ask for help, no matter the circumstances.
That's crazy.
Always,
I was always afraid to ask for help because I was always afraid to be bullied or stand out.
I know, you really just got to do it.
Yeah. So can we get a little background? So that's why a big reason you came on here.